Howdy. I just wanted to slide this announcement in here. If you're not already signed up for the upcoming Azores tour of this November, you're about to miss out. These islands constitute a well-kept secret, only now being discovered and appreciated by astute travelers. There's just a few seats left, and even before we depart, all the participants are enjoying exclusive Zoom briefing sessions where we are discussing the sites we will visit and learning about what I believe to be the #1 location for Plato's Atlantis, if it was in fact a real place. I would like to invite you to join us as we embark upon a quest to search for evidence that there might once have been a thriving maritime culture located on these exotic islands. I hope to see you there as we immerse ourselves in the exploration of this stunning paradise. Hello, friends and fellow researchers. We're coming up on Halloween. It's right around the corner. And there's some very interesting things that are occurring in our celestial neighborhood right now. An unknown entity is upon our doorstep, and it appears to be playing tricks upon us. Who or what is the identity of this intruder? We really don't know. And we may never know. But what we do know is that it is alien to our solar system. Now, that's not to imply that it is artificial. But what else we know is that the more we learn about comets, whether from within the solar system, our solar system, or beyond, the weirder they get. Join us in this episode of Squaring the Circle as we probe deeper into the mysteries of Earth and heaven, time and space, and just where we insignificant humans might fit into the grand picture of cosmic change. Well, welcome to another episode, and we're going to get right into it tonight to start looking at some of this rather strange stuff that's going on and rather extraordinary correlations. And to help clarify all of this to us, my friend and colleague and fellow researcher, John Arthur, has decided to join us. Took a lot of effort in talking to him, convincing, but he finally relented, and here he is. So.
Nah, how could I miss conjunctions, CMEs, and earthquakes? Oh my.
That's really the question of the hour. Conjunctions, you said. Conjunctions?
Conjunctions.
What is a conjunction? Now, I know there's a grammatical meaning to a conjunction.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what we're talking about here, although the ultimate meaning may somehow be related. But in the sense that you're referring it to, what do we mean by a conjunction?
Well, when we're talking about conjunctions in the astronomy sense, we're talking about an alignment of the planets or bodies in the sky. And if you've been watching the past couple of weeks, we just had the conjunction on the 21st of October, the year of our Lord 2025, with Three-Eye Atlas, the Sun, and Earth.
The Three-Eye Atlas, the Sun, and the Earth. So essentially what you're talking about there in the geometric sense is they were lying on a straight line. They were connected back by a straight line. Interestingly, the term conjunction in the grammatical sense, it's a noun. This is what it means. Simply, the act of joining. Conjunction, definition and meaning according to Merriam-Webster. A conjunction is a word that joins together other words or groups of words. So in effect, just as I suspected, that there's a parallelism in the meaning, in the grammatical sense and the astronomical sense. So in the astronomical sense, we're talking about cosmic bodies, whether planets or presumably satellites and moons, or even strange alien probes entering our solar system. The conjunction means that they're lying, in effect, in a straight line. Is it possible here to kind of look at this from the bird's eye view?
Top
and
down.
and you could show it as define. Ooh, look at there. Okay, let's see. So the blue dot.
Let's remove Lemon,
Yeah,
Swan, and K1,
good. That'll clarify it for us.
just so that we can see this straight line, Earth through the sun,
Yeah.
3i Atlas.
So what was the exact date? What date was that?
The 21st
The
of
21st,
October.
two days ago, basically. And do we know what time? I'm sure that we could define that time a little more precise.
Well, we're talking somewhere around 10, 11, 18, somewhere in there. Let's see.
Okay. 10 or
So-
11 p.m.
No. AM.
AM. AM. That morning.
Between 10 and 2, somewhere in there.
Right. And it depends on how precisely we define that point. Because, I mean, we could define it literally, if we wanted, to a nanosecond.
Correct.
That wouldn't be very apparent then to somebody looking at it from the human scale. So we might want to define it. I think a day, that's what I was asking. I mean, a day, we could certainly say the day, but within that day, there's going to be a much more precise window that we could then narrow if we want to the hour. At what point is that object exactly on the azimuth of that projected line, right? So that's pretty remarkable right there. Zoom in a little.
Let me see here.
Can we do that? Yeah, there we go.
Absolutely.
Okay, so and kind of, yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah. Now, okay, this is interesting in itself just because of the geometry of it, but something happened that makes this,
More interesting than
I would
ever.
say, even an order of magnitude more interesting.
Interesting. 100%. From SOHO, the Solar and Heliocentric Observatory.
Uh-huh.
And this is a space satellite. That right there was a massive coronal mass ejection right on the time. And leading up to the day before, you see this huge amount of activity, and then you see that boom. Absolutely gobsmacked.
So
And this is as the conjunction is happening, we have this massive coronal mass ejection.
okay. Now I know that on his website, Stephen Burns gets into a breakdown of that. I watched that video. I had only heard the name, wasn't familiar with his work until I now watched his video, and it was great. I mean, I'm going to probably be tuning in with fair degree of regularity to see what he's up to. But he more or less predicted that there could be a solar response,
Correct.
and there was. So, wow.
Absolutely. His I don't want to speak for him too much. Go over to Stephen Burns. It's with a F, I believe.
Yes,
Stephen Burns
Stefan, I believe.
on YouTube. Fantastic YouTube channel. He's doing great work over there. His thought is that this is one interconnected system. You drop a rock in the pool, you're going to see ripples on the other side.
Yeah.
And there's something is occurring that's quite the coincidence for this massive CME to occur. Boom.
Yeah.
Right as the conjunction.
Right on that conjunction.
So
there's this vector, could think of it as a vector lining the Earth to the sun. And if that line extends beyond the sun, we could think of it this way. It's when 3i Atlas is actually literally just crossing. Like, think of it as a highway. It's right there in the middle, along the dashed line down the middle of the highway, when this thing happened. Now, the CME is not necessarily on the line. It's kind of leading. It's over there. It looks like it's coming off there at about 2 o'clock. Play it once again so we can see here it comes. Boom. Yeah, didn't it look like it centered at about roughly 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
So it's going off in that direction. And Stephen Burns made the point that it's going to encompass the Atlas, but the Atlas is now moving directly into that the field of that coronal mass ejection.
And so what that's going to do to this already very interesting and somewhat volatile interstellar object, we don't know. Because we know there's a ton of CO2 and a ton of CO and very, very volatile gases. We'll see how much mass it loses.
Yeah. So,
because we don't know. It's on the other side of the sun.
Right. So Burns was saying, he pointed out that when the object, presumably almost any object, is out in deep space, the energy is extremely low. The energy field impinging upon that object is extremely low. Like he said, 10 to the negative 7, 10 to the negative 8 watts per square meter. I mean, that's down pretty close to zero. As it's coming in near perihelion, the energy being the radiant energy to which this object is now being subject is going to be up to, like, I think he said 700 and something watts per square meter. So a gigantic difference.
Orders of magnitude.
Orders of magnitude. Yeah, like what, 7 or 8 orders of magnitude. So what he's doing is he's anticipating that there could be some type of an energetic response from Atlas. And it makes sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what do I know? So we were using one of our new research tools, Ground News, to find some of the latest breaking news on 3I Atlas. I had started using this tool, months before Ground News reached out to us and offered to sponsor us and sponsor this work that we're doing here. That was very exciting to me and very gratifying. So we readily agreed, and we are now being sponsored by them under the Vantage Plan. And this Vantage Plan is available to all of you out there who are interested in doing research. And if you sign up and subscribe to Ground News, you will get 40% off the regular price by using our code here, which is right down there. We've got another link down below and another link up there. Okay. So you got 3 ways you can go in. You can sign up, you can subscribe. I think you'll be glad you did, especially if you're at all trying to keep up with what's happening in the world. And the cool thing is that if we pull up and we're referring to an article in our discussions here, and you have your Ground News subscription, you're going to be able to pull up the same thing, use the same links we do, and you will be able to go on and yourself find those articles and those reports that we're quoting from and using in our podcast. So that is a really cool thing in itself. $5 a month. I mean, what is that? That's 2 days of your daily newspaper. So anyways, with all that in hand, all of that, we're going to go back to the show and see what's going on.
We're going to get into some evidence in a little bit. Like we said, conjunctions and earthquakes. We're going to talk about that more. I don't want to give up too much.
Okay. But while we're here, and you were talking about this kind of this field of linkages throughout, and so we're talking about things beyond gravity. We're talking about that there's a whole spectrum of energies here, and that we're looking at a coherent system of some kind. And in support of that model, I want to show you something that some of the people have seen, because I've shown it more than a few times. But what I'm going to do, this is the infall of a Kreutz sun grazer into the comet, just at the time. Into the sun, just at the moment that we happen to be. I think this was Soho. In that perspective of looking for some kind of a unified field of energy, think of it maybe as an energy web that affects all of the bodies and planets within the solar system, within the heliosphere. If they're working somehow in conjunction with each other, we just showed that something, again, is it coincidence? Maybe. I mean, yeah, you could dismiss that as a coincidence. Well, it's just a coincidence that 3I Atlas just happened to be on that direct line when this massive solar outburst occurred. But maybe not.
Very unlikely. It's more likely if you throw a rock into the pool, the shoreline is going to get, or the edge of the wall of the pool is going to get ripples bumping into it.
Yes.
It's one interconnected system. Nothing's in a vacuum. It's all in a vacuum, but you know what I mean.
Yes. And speaking of throwing rocks into a pool, what I've got here is a video clip of a rock. I believe it was a Kreutz sungrazer. Just happened to be looking right at the right time. And we're going to see on this video clip, we're going to see this cometary, and it's a relatively small comet. Speaking, on a scale of cometary nucleus sizes, it's going to be coming in from down the lower right. You're going to see it. It's going to be maybe around 4 o'clock. I think it's going to come in. You're going to see it. We've got this disk, just like in the graphic or animation or video you just showed. The disk is there because without the disk, light would be overwhelming. We wouldn't see anything. But the sun is sitting right behind that disk. So I'm going to go ahead now and play it. You're going to see the comet coming in from the lower right down here, and it's going to come up and it's going to impact the sun. All right, here we go. There we see it now. Here it comes. Watch. Let's do that again. Now notice that the outburst of the CME looks very close to being at the antipodal sphere of the sun. Watch this again. Here it comes. Boom!
Direct result.
We need more data, of course. We need more observations. But if we see this as a regular thing, it opens up perhaps a whole new mechanism, because before I even saw these videos years ago, I was thinking that there was some kind of a coherent system that when we get into deeper discussions about the sun, I've got several interesting articles to refer to that where they were already, some solar physicists were already looking at a correlation between the impact, particularly of the Kreutz sungrazers, and solar activity. And this video seems to confirm, although again, could be a coincidence that just so happened that this big coronal explosion occurs on the opposite side of the sun of where this comet fell into the sun. But see, what that leads us to, John, is this. The idea that if there was, and this is the hypothetical that we haven't really unpacked fully yet, but I've talked about it elsewhere, which is that if we have a very large comet coming into the solar system, somewhere between, say, 25 and 30,000 years ago, and it begins to undergo a hierarchy of disintegrations, and I'm talking about a very large comet, the Omega comet, which we know exists and has been a theoretical probability for decades, particularly coming from the British school of catastrophism that was led by Victor Klube and William Napier and William Asher and several others that have been studying comets for a long time and have believed that probably the final phase of the late Wisconsin Ice Age, when there was a rapid and huge climate shift around 25 to 27,000 years ago, may have been caused by the planet becoming dusted with the effluent material discharging from a large comet nucleus. Well, let's suppose that did happen, and the comet began to break up. What ultimately is going to happen to that cometary mass? Well, the main thing that's going to happen to it is it's going to get swallowed up by the sun, and then it's going to hit planets. Probably Jupiter could be a prime candidate. Earth, Mars, Venus, right? And the third thing, it disintegrates into the level of a meteor shower, and then further beyond that, it becomes just dust. And most likely, what's known as the zodiacal light could be, and it has been proposed that this zodiacal light is the reflection of light off of dust left over from the mega comet, which spawned a whole family of things. The Taurid meteor stream, possibly the Aratids, possibly Encke's comet, possibly Rudnicki's comet, all part of a family of things that are descendants of this mega comet, right? So here's what I'm getting at, and then we'll move on. If you have that happen, we now have overwhelming evidence that the Earth was impacted by something from out there. It has been proposed by Bill Napier and supported by evidence that that could have been associated with that Taurid stream, that's Taurid family of stuff that triggered the Younger Dryas. But what if that same stuff is also in its encounters with the sun triggering hyperactive responses in the form of the sun? Because we know we know that there was a catastrophic warming at Meltwater Pulse 1A, but we don't know about any impact proxies. We know about impact proxies at the lower Younger Dryas boundary at 12,850, right, roughly. And then another extraordinary event, warming event, in Meltwater Pulse at about 11,600, Meltwater Pulse 1B. That I'm aware of, there's no studies finding proxies there yet. Maybe that's something that we need to be looking at, but we need to look at that because the end of the Younger Dryas appears to be almost as catastrophic as the beginning of the Younger Dryas. And, Robert Schoch has been arguing in favor for years of a solar contribution or solely. I mean, he's actually, the lectures that I've seen, he's actually rejected the possibility of a comet and is solely come down on the side of solar. Hancock is more obviously in favor of the comet. I don't know where he stands on the idea of a solar contribution, where I'm standing with one foot in both camps here at this point now. Again, because I think it's leading us to a conception of a unified field somehow, that nothing happens within the system without having consequences, without having repercussions, ripples throughout the system. And this could be more evidence. I mean, it really raises some questions, because if it's not coincidence, then you're like, okay, how is it that this object, it's moving at a high rate of speed, we know that, wham, it goes through that line, boom, the sun right there explodes with a CME. That, to me, is really something to ponder.
And again, we know that it has a charged field.
We know that it has a charge field, yes.
A very, very high.
But to think that could trigger a response on this level I don't know what the energy discharge was, but it had to have been enormous. I would like to mention that one of our original sponsors at Cosmographia, CBD from the Gods, is following us here to our new podcast, Squaring the Circle. As many of you know, I've been using their products for going on 4 years now, and having tried a number of CBD brands, CBD from the Gods seems the most effective for my needs, which is primarily as a sleep aid and as a remedy for inflammation and associated pain. I use both the oil and the salve. My wife also likes their products, especially the salve, which alleviates the pain in her hands, which is the result of working for years as an electrician. If you've been thinking about trying a CBD product and experiencing the benefits for yourself, give CBD from the Gods a try. To learn more and see their product line, check out cbdfromthegods.com. Any purchase of their products helps our efforts here at Squaring the Circle to realize our goal of making this world a better place. Thanks.
It looked like the sun grazer you just put on your screen.
Yes.
It is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
So I think it's worth studying. It's worth studying. It's worth looking at, and it's something that is going to be more evidence required. But the question is, if you don't know the question, how could you ever find the answer?
Well, that's a good point.
So we're asking the question, And, we're not the other ones. There's a lot of folks who are looking right now at 3i Atlas, and I think it's worthwhile, which brings us really well to the sponsor for today, and that's Round News.
Well, we both just used it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Look at here. The more I use this, and I'm not just saying this because they've agreed to sponsor our efforts here, it's because I started using this before they offered to sponsor our efforts here. So we're very grateful for that. But the fact is that we've already started using it to great advantage. And I see you've got something here, 3i Atlas. You pulled this up on Ground News. And what do we got here? 3i Atlas enters solar conjunctions. Scientists debate if comet is natural. Okay. You know where I'm going to come down. I'm not going to hang my hat on this being an alien probe or anything. I will leave, say, 3 to 5% open for that. But I'm clear on that. It's like I said in the opening. The more we learn about comets, the weirder they get. And maybe we shouldn't be too surprised if a comet that's not even ultimately part of our solar system happens to come whizzing through, and it's is the weirdest yet. Maybe we should expect that.
Correct. So when we were looking at this, you and I just doing some research in using the tool, what's nice is they bullet point out the summary.
I like it.
And so on October 21st, an alleged European Space Agency debris engineer posted a claim of a cover-up. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Keck 2 observations found cyanide and nickel emissions pointing towards the sun. We'll talk a little bit about that in passing. Hera is going to pass through the downstream flow between October 25th and November 1st. So be on the lookout for what that looks like, what that produces. And of course, Europa Clipper is the best one of the two to take a look between Hera and the Clipper. Unfortunately, the government shutdown of the U.S. is potentially precluding that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the thing that you and I were talking about, we really appreciated, is the factuality report, where you could just sort by usage of factual versus emotionally charged language. Hopefully you find language that is more just pragmatic in your news sources. So you've got one here saying an interstellar comet continues to surprise scientists, but unlikely to be aliens. The time of the truth for the possible alien mothership.
And then notice down there to the right, you've got full article right there at your fingertips. Read full article.
Yep.
And there it is. There's the full article.
ESA Insider shocks space community. 3i Atlas, not a comet, but a stable engine-powered object, leak suggests. So this is that story.
And ESA is a European Space Agency. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to reserve the right to be skeptical, but like I said, look, it's a weird and wonderful and miraculous universe that we live in. And hey, there's always room for the outrageous hypothesis, right? But like I said, I'm going to be hanging there in the maybe 3 to 5% possibility that it's not a natural object. Definitely inclined towards the idea that it's a natural object, albeit very weird one that we're going to spend probably years trying to figure out. And then who knows, we'll probably, since what we've seen in the last 10 years, this is number 3. When is number 4 going to show up? And number 5 and number 6. I mean,
so it's worth keeping an eye on, and we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the options. You and I were looking at that, and we found some of them via Ground News, but ESA's Mars Express and ExoMars orbiters catch a glimpse of 3i Atlas.
So we got a glimpse, but now this is the one where we're actually seeing its motion against the backdrop of fixed stars.
That's it.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's how we got here.
you're gonna okay, you're gonna share that with us, or
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
sir. So here's the trajectory through the solar system, and you can see how Mars was so close, 30, I think it was 30 million miles.
Okay.
So right there. And so the Mars Express and ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter were able to capture some images. Not too great. This is an older photo. Let me actually go. Stephen Burns actually posted some from the Perseverance, and we've got some on those. But this is from Stephen Burns' X channel. If you look right here, you can kind of see it right there. But then he goes and takes the trouble to outline.
So it's inside that red oval.
Yeah.
So that gives us at least some sense of its. Okay, and this is over what time span?
This is from 2157 to 2206.
Okay, so not very long. 6, 7, 8,
long.
like 9 minutes.
9 minutes.
Something like that.
Now, this is from the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, and this is frame by frame.
Now, you're still pulling this up off of Ground News, right?
This is everything we got off of Ground News.
Yeah,
that's why we like them. We're able to find a lot of stuff very fast.
Right.
Good use of AI tools.
Yeah, a great use of AI tools.
So you can kind of see frame by frame this passing through. And so not a great or very exciting view, but it is a view. And you can get an idea of where the tail is in regards to the solar wind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So same article, a little bit more in depth. They lay out, this is from ESA International, or .int International.
ESA, European Space Agency, .international.
INT.
INC.
INT.
Okay.
So this is what they say. Next month, we will observe the comet with our Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer.
Let's pause for a moment there. Jupiter Icy, JUIME, but they've got it.
Juice.
I
don't. It must be Jupiter IC Explorer. I'm not gonna.
Okay, so IC is just it's for icy moons.
Yes.
So Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer.
Icy Moons Explorer. Juice. So though Juice will be further from 3i Atlas than our Mars orbiters were last week, it will see the comet just after its closest approach with the sun, meaning that it will be in a more active state. We don't expect to receive data from Juice's observation until February 26. Icy wanders such as 3i Atlas are rare, tangible connections to the broader galaxy. To actually visit one would connect humankind with the universe on a far greater scale. To this end, ESA is preparing the Comet Interceptor mission.
Aha! Now that's interesting.
The Comet Interceptor is due to launch in 2029 into a parking orbit where it will lie in wait for a suitable target. A pristine comet from the distant Oort cloud that surrounds our solar system, or unlikely but highly appealing, another interstellar object like 3i Atlas.
Wouldn't that be something?
It would. So something to look forward to. Hopefully we do see something like that, because this one's been interesting.
Oh my gosh, yes. And when is the maximum immersion into the solar mass ejection? Or has that already happened? So let's see. From right now, we are on, this is the 23rd of October. The CME occurred on the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yep.
And that was right in conjunction, but it has not yet passed perihelion, correct?
On October 29th, we'll hit perihelion.
Okay, so we're getting close to perihelion.
We're very close.
Okay. So, at what point does it encounter the coronal field, or is it already doing that?
It's already interacting. That's what
It's already interacting.
is. Yeah. That CME is it's already interacting, and it'll pass on the 29th right here.
Okay.
Right there is going to be your perihelion.
I see. Yeah. Okay. And the Earth is still too close to being in the superior conjunction. I'm sorry, the inferior conjunction, which puts it on the other side of the sun from us.
Correct.
So we probably won't be able to see much, if anything.
Which is unfortunate because before it went behind the sun, this is via Avi Loeb. He's quoting a Nordic study. So the Nordic Optical Telescope in the Canary Islands, Spain, pulled up this image. And this is during July through August through September. But this thing has defied all of our normal understandings of what a comet does. The tail was pushing towards the sun.
Right.
Towards the sun in July 2nd, 11th, 31st, August 13th, it kind of neutralized. September 8th, started to lean and wane away from the sun. And now we have a somewhat normal tail. Normal.
Yeah.
Scare quotes. On September 24th.
I wonder if that will elongate as it approaches perihelion. I would expect that.
It's something that we might be able to get a glimpse, a little bit of knowledge out of the Mars units, but not a lot.
But I mean, it's going to receive a dose of energy that's probably going to charge it, and it's still going to be supercharged as it comes into our field of view again.
It should be a very active coma by the time it comes out.
One would think.
One would think, unless it's just disappeared and the aliens are upon us. But that's another issue. Maybe. I mean, you never know.
Well, maybe the aliens have a cloaking device, and we won't get to see it at all.
We'll know in just a few weeks.
Okay. Well, whether or not they have a cloaking device.
After we get back from the Azores, which there's still tickets. Once again, there are still tickets. If you want to come, guys, there are still tickets right now to come and join Randall on his trip to the Azores. I can't say Atlantis.
No, you're not allowed to say that.
I'm not allowed to say
not
that.
In polite company anyway.
In the search of Plato's lost civilization.
Ooh, that's quite a grandiose statement.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what we're going to find, but I'm sure we've already seen enough indications that we're going to find some very interesting stuff.
So y'all should be there.
And the history of that collection of mid-Atlantic islands may be quite a bit different than the standard model.
Indeed.
But we hopefully are going to be reporting from the field.
That would be ideal.
Yeah.
It'd be ideal.
What do you got here?
So this is, again, a model, from the Nordic Optical Telescope and from Avi Loeb. So we have an anti-sun to the sun tail. So the zero axis here is distance from the nucleus in arc seconds. That's measured from angle, from the point of view of Earth. So kind of counterintuitively, the anti-sun tail the more to the left it is, the further it is from the sun, and the negative over here is towards the sun. So August 7th, it was much more pointed towards the sun. September 26th, it was pointed much further away.
Okay.
So it's starting to act like a normal comet, which begs the question, and Avi Loeb goes in to say it has to do with the character of what's being outcast, if I can reduce what he's saying. Link in the description below. You guys can read the whole Medium article yourself. If you haven't already followed Avi Loeb, you should. He's interesting. He's an interesting mind in the space.
Yeah, and he's willing to speculate. And I believe that, you've got to have solid basis for finally accepting the veracity of any proposed idea or hypothesis. But at the same time, you have to be willing to sometimes go out on a limb and speculate.
Yeah.
Even outrageously occasionally from now and then.
And while you're looking at Avi Loeb, check out Jason Wright and David Jewett. And those guys have their very different opinion than Avi Loeb. So check those guys out too. So, and this is, again, more of the same. How Avi Loeb is talking about how there's kind of a strange anti-sun towards the sun, and then now it's anti-sun tails. Somewhere in between, when as this was coming out of view of Earth, we had a ejection of gas on this purple line vector where my cursor is. If you're on the audio, I'm sorry. But towards the sun, there is this ejection of gas.
Towards the sun.
Almost, dare I say, almost like a reverse thruster. So one of two opinions: either you have this amalgamation of material that's been through God knows what in like 30-degree Kelvin temperatures, right? Mm-hmm. Or lower. And you have this icicle that's just accumulating stuff, and it is sublimating at irregular patterns because this has been through whatever debris fields we don't know, one way or the other. That's I think a natural hypothesis for this that might be workable.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's an alien spaceship with a thruster. But I mean, hey, look, consider all the hypotheses, what's true and what's not, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so, but this does bring us around to the whole question of CMEs and solar storms and solar proton events that we are really, I think, just on the verge of beginning to understand, the threshold of understanding the connections between what happens here below on our home planet and what's going on in the bigger world of the solar system, in the zone that we would call the heliosphere. And you have an article here. I haven't read this yet, but I will be reading this one. Maybe when I'll fall asleep reading this one tonight. But it says long period trends in global seismic and geomagnetic activity. Seismic, of course, earthquakes, geomagnetic activity, and their relation to solar activity.
This is the graph that I really wanted to show you when you and I were digging up data for this podcast. This is what I found that I thought was the most interesting. 0 is years relative to sunspot maximum.
Say that one more time.
So
0, which is the lower right-hand corner.
No, it's the center. It's the center.
Yeah, okay, I can see now. Yeah, I have to look close because it's a little bit small on my screen. Okay, so 0 is what?
Years relative to sunspot maximum.
Years relative to sunspot maximum. Okay, so that's the 0 line.
The center, the 0 line, the center of the graph.
Yep.
Middle of the data, and as you see coming up to it, there's very little earthquake activity.
Yep.
And we have a peak during the sunspot maximum. We have, and this is measured in earthquakes per year. And
okay, so the yearly number of earthquakes is the dashed line, and then the average sunspot number is the, what would you call it? The dotted line.
Flip that. So the normal line, the solid line is number of earthquakes.
Oh, that's the number of earthquakes. I see. So you've got that first dot over in the left. You've got 19 earthquakes, yearly earthquakes, whatever year. It doesn't give the year, but whatever year.
1900 to 1999.
Oh, okay.
So this is a 100-year curve, 1900 to 1999.
Okay, I see the caption now. Average number of earthquakes, which is the solid line. Okay, Yeah, again, people watching this should be able to see all of this better than I'm seeing it right now. But okay, average number of earthquakes is the solid line, and the solar activity is the broken line in the 11-year solar cycle for the period 1900 to 1999. Ah, okay. Well, looking at this graph, sure does look like there's a correlation.
Now, is it causation? That's a whole different question.
Correct.
Is there something, because earthquakes would occur with or without the sun.
With or without the sun, we presume that, yeah.
But then the question is, are they both reacting to a outside system, or does one affect the other, right? And of course, the solar is going to be much larger of a system than the geomagnetic forces in the Earth. So I don't know about this other hypothetical of a larger unifying electromagnetic field that's doing all of this. That might exist. But the obvious answer at the moment looks like yes. CMEs have some effect. We're not claiming a total effect. We're not claiming the cause.
Right.
But there's a correlation of some sort. We just don't know what the causal links are. We don't fully understand it.
Right. And it could very well be there is a transcendent causal factor to which both the solar activity and the seismic activity are responding. We don't know.
Correct.
But it's a really interesting question. And in some of the upcoming episodes, we're going to explore some of that because I do have some data on that with a variety of space weather and terrestrial weather correlations that do seem to indicate that there is some kind of a greater coherent pattern that whose effects ripple through that pattern in a number of different ways. And this is, to me, a very, very interesting field of research. So
I totally agree. And that brings us to one more. Remember, we said earthquakes, conjunctions.
Yes, earthquakes, conjunctions. And what we have here, John, I see over on the left, we've got, okay, what do we have here? We've got ID. Okay, let's look. In this section, we present the results for the sun-planet alignment schemes during R8 plus, so Richter scale greater than 8. So we're talking big earthquakes here.
And just for those following along at home, just so you can go find this link in the description, astronomical triggers as a cause of strong earthquakes is the second paper. So okay. I don't think I had a chance quite to, inject that. My apologies, but keep going.
Okay. 2 sun-planet alignment schemes were presented in Figure 2. The contiguous or opposite heliocentric alignment scheme, which is, you're going to have to scroll down a little.
Oh, got it.
Which is
on in Figure 2.
Table 2, the Archimedes liner planet alignments at an angle of less than 0.5 degrees for earthquakes with a magnitude of more than 8 points. On the Richter scale, the studied cases are paired according to planetary alignments or earthquake locations. Drawn in Figure 2, and that's what we're seeing down below, right?
Yep.
Yeah, is marked in this study as the Sun-L scheme. Okay, so the top one, we've got planet, sun, and Earth, which in effect would be a conjunction.
Like 3i Atlas.
Like 3i Atlas. We could replace planet with 3i Atlas. This is what we call a superior conjunction, right? Superior conjunction.
Superior conjunction.
And then we have the second alignment schemes, which is
so they're labeling it Sun L.
Say that again, John.
They're labeling it Sun L. When you have a conjunction, a set of conjunctions, and the Earth is offset from that. So you have this gravitational mass pulling the Earth in one direction.
I see. Okay, two solar alignments. So you've got A is a contiguous or opposite heliocentric alignment. That's the top, labeled as Sun L. In history, this scheme was called the Kepler conjunction. Then in B is another solar alignment scheme in which the Earth is excluded from the linear alignment. In this study, this scheme is named as the Sun-X scheme. Okay, so those are the two geometric conditions that we see in the columns. Yes, okay, so I see that over here, type at the top, you've got their type, and then down that column, you've got L and X.
And then there's a G, but we'll break this down more in another episode.
Yeah, but so we're basically introducing this. And the takeaway is very interesting, right? We've got these huge earthquakes. The name, where the location, where the epicenter was, is the position column. Then we've got the magnitude, R is the Richter scale, that column. And these are, man, look at that, a 9 point. Yeah, that must have been the 64 earthquake, the 9.2. Yeah.
March 28th, 1964. You can see
64, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's when you had a conjunction of Mars, Mercury, and Venus.
That's what it's telling us right here. Look, MRV, Mars, Mercury, and Venus. So they were in an alignment.
And so actually, if you read the article, you'll see about 30%, 33% across, not exactly, but a third of each of the sum total of high magnitude earthquakes is what the study is claiming were caught or happened. They occurred during conjunctions.
Wow.
So very, very interesting, and more study and more research is needed, because it's so why is all of this relevant? Well, you already laid it out pretty deeply, but what if the Frankenstein's monster of the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis is not just this mega comet,
right,
but a meteor stream that comes after, and a slew of sun grazers that injects a whole new set of variables into the solar cycle. How often does this happen? And because we're just now starting to open our eyes to the solar system, we've not had any idea what's been going on.
Right.
Not really,
no.
And I would say we still don't.
However, we're in this exciting moment in history where we're really beginning to understand and comprehend the cosmos and our relation to it in a way we've never been able to before. And I will add the whole idea here of conjunctions connected with earthquakes. I had done similar research years ago between conjunctions and volcanic eruptions. I am going to try to dig that research up. I mean, this is 25 or 30 years ago. It was in the 80s, because it was in the aftermath of Mount St. Helens. And that's what inspired me to do that research. And what I found was, I didn't do any kind of rigorous statistical analysis, but what I did find suggested, just like we're seeing here, a correlation. So, yeah, we've got some interesting stuff to explore. I can't wait to dive into it. So it is time for me to jump, John. I think you and I both have business we've got to attend to. Otherwise, we could keep going for hours, but we'll pick up the thread of this conversation and follow this trail of ideas wherever it might lead us. And hopefully some of you listening in are going to come along with us. Support this work by subscribing to Ground News, ground, like the ground beneath our feet, right? That's an interesting, I'm going to have to find out how they came up with the name for that. Anyway,
CBD of the Gods. And if you want to see Randall in person. I see this in the comments. How can I get a chance to chat with Randall? Please don't keep him up to 2 a.m. He has a tour to lead. But you can come and join Randall on the Azores trip because there's a couple of seats left. Darren and Graham are going to be like, yo, please, let people know that some people dropped out at the last second, and there are spots to go to the Azores, Portugal, beautiful Azores, and get the grand tour with Randall. So make sure you guys remember that too.
Well, thanks for joining me for this episode, John. And I'm sure I will be talking in the very near future. So I want to bid adieu to everybody listening. Thanks for joining us. And we'll be seeing you all again soon.
Bye now.